these people have rioted their way into the United States. They don't have a right to be here. That is illegal entry. That is rioting. Within hours, they are released on their own recognizance, ROR'd by a judge. His name is, and I want you to remember his name, everybody, because these are the people who are tearing down America. His name is Humberto Acosta. All right. He dismissed nearly 100 cases in August of 22, dismissed additional 100 cases in October, and then dismisses 100 cases this past weekend. How can you dismiss cases within hours of the arrest?
Coming up, the illegal border crossers who attacked and overwhelmed border agents now getting to walk free out of jail.
Caused a riot at the border, getting the liberal city special and walking free out of jail. The Texas judge reportedly ordering the release of several migrants seen in this shocking video, stampeding their way through razor wire while pummeling Texas National Guardsmen. The White House not bothered by the migrant madness and blaming Republicans for it.
Most of the border crossers accused of beating up Texas National Guardsmen in a riot last month were released on their own recognizance Sunday. How does that make people in this country any safer?
As the event unfolded, the Border Patrol was able to act quickly and get the situation under control and apprehend the migrants. Our immigration system has been broken for decades because of the last president and because they put politics ahead of the American people. We are seeing chaos.
Does President Biden wish that Republicans in Congress would help him make a law that made it easier to deport people?
He wants congressional Republicans to move forward with a bipartisan border security agreement.
All right, Harold, in the green room, you came up with an amazing solution for this. You said, Greg, we should kill two birds with one stone and hire squatters as security against the illegal gang members. I thought that was pretty inventive.
Again, I got to look at the cameras on these things. You could be right. This story here, we do a lot of stories like this, rightly so. For the life of me, I blame President Biden and his administration for 80% of this, and I blame the Congress for 20%. But when if your party's in charge of the White House and you see this happening, you have more tools at your disposal to do something immediately. Now, there are a lot of things that President Trump did that I don't like. There's some things that he did that I do like, from getting us a vaccine sooner to, I think, smarter executive orders on the border. I actually think President Obama had the toughest executive orders, but President Trump certainly had ones that were effective. And there were some other things that President Trump did around the economy that I thought were decent. This issue here in a tie race, if you want to just look at the bare politics at the White House, this is the issue that will cause you to lose, will cause us to lose. Now, that shouldn't be the only reason you act, but in politics, generally winning or getting reelected is what prompts or what catalyzes people to act. The American people don't like this, rightly so. Americans don't feel safe with this. Just like when we say on this show, and I say on this show, you can tell people they're doing well economically or financially, but if they're not going to believe it. If you tell people they're safe and secure and our border secure and they see these images over and over and over again, they're not going to believe it because it's not true. I would hope that the White House, and I would hope even those in Congress who can act would do it. But if you're in the White House, you have an opportunity, I believe, an obligation to act on this.
You know, Jesse, if only they had evidence that these illegals were spreading anti-Biden memes, we could send the FBI after them.
Right. Because I remember on January 6th, a couple people even peacefully trespassed onto federal property. And the ones that weren't so peaceful and may have assaulted a federal agent, I mean, they were sent to prison for a very, very long time. The same thing is happening at the border. People are trespassing onto federal property, or in this case, assaulting federal agents, and they're just sprung. So it's total BS. Now, Greg, the people we're told are coming here are asylum seekers. Now, in order to be an asylum seeker, you have to fear your life is in danger in your country. So, on account of your race, people are fleeing South America. These are Hispanics fleeing Hispanic countries. Okay? Or what about their religion? Are we saying these are Muslim Hispanics that are being persecuted in Guatemala or in Ecuador? Or membership in a particular social group is making them feel persecuted? Are they Freemasons?
They might be.
Are they transgender individuals who feel persecuted? Greg, where have all the newspaper stories been about mass persecutions in Latin America? Where are the unmarked graves? Where are the overflowing political prisons? The New York Times isn't interested in millions of people being persecuted. I mean, and wait a second, the presidents of all of these Latin American countries are then coming to the White House to just hang out with the president, hang out with the vice president. And ask for money. Why would you give a president money who's politically persecuting millions of people? None of this makes sense.
He makes a really good point, and that always surprises me.
I know. I was really shocked by that.
Listen, it's Monday.
You're really firing on all cylinders. I thought about the TikTok migrant that we talked about last week.
Loved him.
So he was on TikTok instructing other illegal migrants to squat on vacant homes. So they pay attention to our laws and work to exploit them. There was a political piece just maybe about a month ago. I can't believe it didn't get more attention. It was about an inside look of the Biden White House about how they used immigration as a political hot potato. Because once they'd done all those executive orders that Biden signed and realized that they had walked themselves into a terrible policy mess, they all started just throwing it like, it's not my fault, not my fault. This president has had, I think, the fewest cabinet meetings of any president of modern history. If I were him, I would call a cabinet meeting and I would look around the table and say, everybody right here, tell me what you're going to do because Congress won't act. Congress won't act, so what are we going to do here? Let's start with you, Merrick Garland, and what we're going to do at the border with these guys who just got released.
I wish he would just call a cab. Last word, Judge. You know what? If one of these agents ever, like, in self-defense hurt one of these people...
They'd sue.
Oh, you know it.
They'd sue and they'd collect. It would be terrible. Look, these people have rioted their way into the United States. They don't have a right to be here. That is illegal entry. That is rioting. Within hours, they are released on their own recognizance, ROR'd by a judge. His name is, and I want you to remember his name, everybody, because these are the people who are tearing down America. His name is Humberto Acosta, all right? He dismissed nearly 100 cases in August of 22, dismissed additional 100 cases in October, and then dismisses 100 cases this past weekend. How can you dismiss cases within hours of the arrest? He then claims that the DA didn't indict in time. Well, the DA can't indict. And by the way, Judge, he has 180 days, the DA, to actually indict these individuals. So this is the fault of that judge. That judge could have retained them. An illegal alien is an inherent flight risk. Now, let's talk about what the feds should have done. The federal government, if we had a sane federal government, they would have come out here and they would have made a public announcement that they're going to charge every one of them with illegal entry or re-entry, which is probably the case with a lot of them, or assault. They literally jumped on the knee of one of the Border Patrol agents, looked at him and did it intentionally, and rioting along with the other charges. And then the federal government should say, we are going to send our most elite officers to track down and deport these individuals. This is a failure of the federal government, the failure of the federal government who has literally abdicated its responsibility to the American people. And then what they do is when Texas tries to defend its own border, Joe Biden and his pals try to stop Texas from enforcing the law. So right now we're in a quagmire with the feds. So we've got the way the district court said it's unconstitutional to allow Texas to protect the border. Fifth Circuit said no, but we're going to stay it. Supreme Court lifts the stay, and then the Fifth Circuit restored the stay. What's wrong with our legal system? And this judge and the federal government are responsible.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
It's not about justice, it's not about agenda, it's not about mobilizing people, it's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.